When Jess's husband's mental health deteriorated, she knew it was time for a change. For them, that meant packing up their life of burnout in the corporate rat race to start a new adventure on the road. As they settle into their travels now, Jess's passion for helping other people escape their own burnout so they can live happier, healthier lives grows each day. In this episode, the very first episode of Campfire Convos, I speak to Jess about how her and her husband have gone from stressed out and depressed to cultivating a happier life, managing mental health more effectively, and exploring new passions.
A few years ago, my husband and I were working really hard in jobs that we weren't necessarily passionate about. And we were doing that just to basically fund our mortgage. So we had a giant mortgage. We built this beautiful house with all the bells and whistles, which is what we thought we wanted at the time. And we were just in a bad cycle of just having to work to pay it off. And we were just work, spend. And we just really felt like we were lacking a huge balance in life. And that, with my husband's mental health issues that were happening at that time, which stemmed from a condition that he developed in his mid-20s, called alopecia, where he lost all of his hair. That really derailed him and really put a lot of pressure on us and our lifestyle. And the fact that he had to work so hard to, compensate for the financial burden that we had created for ourselves, it wasn't helping his mental health at all. So basically we had our first daughter in 2017. And after that, we really had to sit down and do a bit of a life audit and work out, what it was that we actually wanted and needed from life. And we leveled up and we made those changes to create a better life for ourselves. And we prioritized our well-being. And here we are. Now we're on the road and we're not working at the moment. And it's just been a complete change in perspective, and it has been so good for us, for our marriage, for our kids, and for ourselves.
That's awesome. Where are you now?
We are in Western Australia, in Esperance.
Oh, beautiful.
Which is like a dream.
So many people have headed over to WA in the last few months. It's crazy. Where's home for you?
We're from Melbourne, Victoria.
Okay. So definitely a big rat race city right there.
Yeah, definitely the hurried lifestyle is probably something that we've realized being away and on this trip that is not for us anymore. And that was probably something that we didn't realize until we, spent so much time out on the road. A couple of months, about 4 weeks ago, we were in Adelaide, and it was the first big city we had been to since we left home. And we just felt like a fish out of water. It was unreal. I thought we would actually feel more at home being back in, the city. And it was just didn't resonate at all. And we just kind of went, wow, like if that's how we're feeling, just in Adelaide, imagine what it's going to be like when we get back to Melbourne. So yeah, I guess like for us, a change of scenery in that regard isn't off the table as well.
Absolutely. And this whole sort of moving towards this sort of more relaxed way of life and happier way of life has kind of sparked something within you, hasn't it, that you want to share this message with as many people as you can?
Yeah, I guess like with this this change of perspective in life, like with that came a newfound purpose for me and for Leon. And we both have decided to go different ways in career when we feel that we're ready to work again. And for me, that means that I want to help, share this message about mental health and the importance of mental health, and also the prevention of burnout. So, before it gets to that point, it's what we need to do in between to really just set ourselves up for more of a sustainable lifestyle, So for me, that might include, a bit of coaching and mental health work. Also, I'm going to be taking up some yoga training. So when we get to Queensland, I'll be enrolling in a course there, and we'll slow right down, and I'll get my certification. That's something that, I hope to be able to offer people in caravan parks and all across Australia. So that's what I'll be focusing on. And for Leon, he has taken a completely different angle as well with work. He's an auto mechanic by trade, and he was working in the aircraft industry, but now he'll be getting into the healthcare as well. So he's just done a course in non-emergency patient transport with St. John's Ambulance. So hopefully when we get to Queensland, he'll be able to work for the community as well. So yeah, both of us are just trying to give back and really just find purpose in helping others and in service to others.
Yeah. And that word you use, burnout, that is such a sort of hot thing that is, happening in our society every single day. We're taught that we have to go to school and go to uni and get a job and work hard and retire and die. And that's pretty much kind of what we're told. And, the story can be rewritten, can't it?
It can be, yeah. And I guess for so long, the pressure of the modern world was just having this huge influence on Leon and I. And it was, we take responsibility for the derailing of our own values. And I think that's really important to come back to that as well and go, hang on a minute, I've made these decisions to live a certain way. Now I can also change them. So it's about, taking responsibility, but also, having that self-compassion where you can, reset, reclaim and renew. But for us, we were focusing so much on our wish list. It was always what we wanted, but we were never grateful for the present moment. We were never grateful for what we actually had. We were always looking for more. And we forgot about, our bucket lists, and we forgot about our to-be lists. And now it's not about what we want and what we can buy and what we need to have. It's about who we want to be, what we want to embody, and what we want to share. So yeah, we completely went 360.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we were living a very, material lifestyle, and it's now more about meaning for us. So, I guess that's why we're doing it.
And I think that the thing is as well, you're talking about, okay, well, this is how we were and this is how we are now and we're happier now. But for a lot of people, it's a major change, isn't it? Going from this mindset of this is how life is to having a complete 180 shift into thinking a completely different way. So did you find that transition difficult, or was it just that you got to the end of your tether and you're like, nah, we're making a change?
Yeah, I think it happened organically over a very long period of time. So it didn't happen overnight. It was more of we grew through the challenge of the mental illness. And I remember sitting in our big, beautiful house, and I remember just crying and just thinking I would give all of this away for Leon to just be, well, to be healthy and to be happy. So it kind of that was for us, that really set shit off. Mm-hmm. That completely changed our way of thinking. I don't know if we would have changed so drastically and made such colossal changes if it wasn't for the mental health issues that we experienced, but that definitely shaped who we are today. So I guess it was a hard earned wisdom that we are so grateful we've found. We're not grateful for the grief, but we're grateful for that lesson. And it really just all comes back to awareness. Mm-hmm. Once you've got an awareness, you're 95% of the way there. The rest, once you've got that awareness, you can kind of think bigger picture and you can make those changes. And for us, it was just about getting clear on our values, and then everything else fell into place because we were living in alignment with who we wanted to be, not what we wanted to have. Yeah. So from that point, all of the goals were just it was like clockwork. And I remember we chose to sell that big house to create this space for a new life, and we sold our big beautiful house and we bought a very humble 70s brick veneer down the road, which was half the price, and we spent time renovating it, and then we also bought the caravan. So you know, we did make sacrifices in that sense as well, but it didn't feel like a sacrifice because it was in alignment with our newfound purpose and our values. So yeah, I guess like my advice, if anything, for anyone who's kind of feeling like something's not quite right in life, is just to really get clear on your values. And once you know them, just trust in the process that everything else will fall into place from thereafter, because it really, really does.
Yeah. And it's a bit of a hard one when mental health is at play as well, because at the end of the day, you know, they say money doesn't buy you happiness, and you know, you guys are the clear example of that. How have things been on the road with Leon's mental health, and, you know, dealing really with a family, you know, dealing as a family with mental health on the road when there's kind of that instability, and I know a lot of the time mental health needs a bit of stability. So how is it?
Yeah, it's true. There are days where, you know, things aren't as good for him as other days. He is 100% doing so much better, being, you know, on the road in this lifestyle. But it does get a bit much being in a confined space with, you know, 2 toddlers. We've got 2 girls, one's 2, one's 3, and then plus myself. So he's surrounded by women. And, you know, we both need that mental break, and we just need to, I guess, pinpoint when it's kind of like building up and when we just kind of need to, you know, go for a walk or spend, you know, a couple hours alone. So it's just about communication, and it's not always easy, and, you know, we're not perfect at it. But yeah, we definitely try very hard to cater for our mental health on the road, just as we would at home. So even though we haven't got the pressure of work and, you know, events and going to different places, and we can create the day that we want every morning, we still need to work on the mental health just as much as we would in any situation. So for Leon, that means he goes for runs. For me, I like to go for walks. If we stop somewhere for a couple of weeks and there's like a leisure center or a gym nearby, I will join. I will go and do yoga and do, you know, Pilates, because I really value community and that kind of thing as well. And we eat right. We try and eat a balanced diet. So food plays a huge part in our mental health. We kind of feel like absolute crap when we don't eat well, when we've got long drives and we're eating, you know, lollies and junk in the car just because we're bored. We
I can
really
resonate that with that hard.
Yeah, it's like, you know, when you start snacking and then it affects your mood, and then that has a flow-on effect of everything else. So if we can just try and eat a balanced diet and lots of, you know, fresh food, we feel so much better as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And this brings up another kind of point. You know, we were talking about the fact that, you know, you do have an end point of your travels. You will eventually go back, well, whether it's Melbourne or wherever it might be. But it brings up that really important point that just because you're away doesn't mean that you forget working on yourself, right? You know, it's still a case that when you're on the road, you've got to work on yourself, because there is an end point. You're going to go back to, might not be the typical rat race that you're in before, but you kind of go back to normality, don't you?
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And I think, you know, we often hear a lot of traveling families label this lifestyle as their best life. You know, we're living our best life. And I don't necessarily agree with that. I mean, I've used that term as well, but for me, it's about living your happiest life or your most content life. I think content is probably a better word. You know, otherwise, I don't want people thinking that, you know, we're expected to be happy all the time, because that's not a realistic, you know, way of being. We're human beings. We feel everything. So your most content life is a better option than your best life, because your best life might be traveling Australia full time for 2 years, but then when it's over, you know, you really you want something to go back to where you feel like you've got an inbuilt, you know, sustainable way of being. And for us, that's what we're doing on this trip. We're using this time to really heal. We're healing through travel. We've chosen this lifestyle because we believe it fits the criteria for what we need to do the inner work. But when we get back, we know, and we're preparing ourselves for, you know, a future of, you know, having healthy perspectives and a healthy mindset. So yeah, I think it's really important
Absolutely.
keep that in mind.
Yeah. And I want to talk about sort of people's kind of, I don't want to use the word desperation, but it is kind of a desperation that people are just so, they just want to get away. They want to get away from this life. They want to just go. I don't even know how to describe it other than feeling like that need to just either get it. Well, it doesn't necessarily even have to be doing a big lap. It's just to stop what they're currently doing.
Yeah.
But this kind of brings up a point that we were talking about off air about a lot of people can be so desperate they just get into, anything. They're willing to try anything. And you actually tried something yourself that turned out not to be so great, didn't you?
Yeah, I think like desperation is the perfect word. And I think people panic because they know that they need a certain level of income, and then you make snap decisions, in different markets or whatever it may be. And sometimes you can get caught out. And I, for one, personally did get caught out. I joined a community. I won't name who they are, but I did join a life coaching school, and I felt as though it was a complete rot. It was almost like a high pressure sales bullying mentality. I was constantly being sold to. I was constantly being promised free gifts, and then, you'd select a free gift and then you'd have to pay for it. It didn't resonate. The values of this group of people were completely different to mine. And I chose life coaching. It was a real shame because I chose life coaching because I genuinely wanted to help people and help myself. And I got taken for a ride. I got sold a product that was just a cookie cutter, coaching methodology. And it cost $4,000. So it was an expensive lesson, but I don't regret it. I really don't. I'm glad it happened. I think it would be good for people to have a greater awareness. I didn't have that at the time. I probably didn't do enough research or talk to enough people. But I am glad it did happen because it taught me what not to do, taught me what kind of coach or mentor I want to be. So I will bank that experience as a lesson and not a loss. And that's, the way that I'm choosing to look at it. But from there, I've definitely chosen to go a bit of a different angle when it comes to coaching and mental health work. And I will be getting certified, and I will be doing something that is backed by science and not business. So it's really important just to do your research, talk to people, Google reviews. If I had have done that, I probably wouldn't have made the decision to pursue it. But at the same time, you're only human and you've got to do what feels right. And that's what I did. And I did something that I was excited about at the time, and I did learn something from it. So it's not all bad.
Absolutely. If anybody's watching this on video, they'll be currently seeing me dying.
Are you okay?
My way through. Yeah, I'm fine. I don't know what happened. Anyway. I'm fine now. And that's the thing, isn't it? There, we were talking before, and I won't name names or companies or anything like that, but there is a current scam sort of going around. And I would say they're almost preying on the people who do want to do the big lap. They want to get out there. They want to have, freedom. I think that's the key word there. They want to have freedom. And, there's no doubt that some people do make money in these things, but you hit the nail on the head when you talked about the morals and the ethics, because for me personally, if something doesn't align with my morals, then it doesn't matter how much freedom it gives me, I ain't going to do it.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. It's really sad that these companies are taking people, genuine, honest people who are just desperate to make a change in life for the better. They're not people who are trying to rip other people off, but then eventually that's what happens. They get sucked in, they get brainwashed, and then they become one of them. Yeah. So, I'm just grateful that I found that early on in the piece, and I cut ties when I did.
Absolutely. So what does the future hold for you guys?
Future, lots of swimming. We are going to just make our way around Australia. We are not in a hurry, so we don't feel the pressure of having to rush to get back for work or, in a certain time frame. We have pretty much got as long as we want at this stage. It's not something that I see myself doing forever or, for, anything longer than 2 years. I definitely wouldn't go for that long. I want the kids to have, a bit of normality as well when it comes to school and extracurricular activities. My 2 little girls, they want to do gymnastics and dancing, and that's important to me and Leon, that we give them that as well. So whilst there are aspects of travel that we love and could do forever, there are things that we feel we do miss out on as well. So I guess for us, we'll travel all of Australia, and then when we get back, we will settle down and get back into our daily life, which will include plenty of self-care practice, plenty of exercise, and just fun in general. We've made the changes that we did with our house so that we didn't have to go back to the daily grind. When the money ran out, it wasn't like the well was going to dry up and then we were going to have to go back to 70-hour weeks. That's definitely not going to happen. We will still be doing weekend trips, here and there. We might take, a month off here and there and do like little stints. But the future is bright for us. So.
Awesome. That sounds great. And I think an important point you made there is that, you don't want to be living this lifestyle forever. It's an extended period of travel for you. And that's fine. A lot of people worry that when they go out and do their travels and they think, maybe I only want to do this for 6 months, that they've failed their lap. But at the end of the day, it's different strokes for different folks, isn't it?
That's right. Yeah. And it's, I think full-time travel families have that sometimes they have that pressure on them where they go, oh, well, if I only do 6 months or if I only do a year, I'm not like them who have done 2 years or 3 years or 4 years. Like, oh, do I want to go for longer? You just have to do what feels right for you and what aligns with your values. And for us, having the 2 little girls, we're thinking about their needs as well. And we don't want them to miss out on, being with family and cousins and that as well. So it does. Yeah, it just comes back to what you want. And a baby lap, half a lap, a full lap, weekend stays, it doesn't matter. If you're living in a van or a bus or, you're hiring a camper van, you're doing something for you and for your family, and that's all that matters.
We'd really love to hear what you thought about this episode of Campfire Convos. Has it inspired you to reevaluate your current situation? Comment below with a hell yeah if you just love Jess's awesome attitude towards life. I'll go first. And as always, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any episodes to come.